Have you ever wondered what happened to the Disney store? If you grew up in the 90s like I did, I bet you spent countless hours inside these stores. For me, the closest Disney store was in the Orange County area in the now defunct Block Plaza in Anaheim, right between Block and Catella. So when my mom drove us down to Disneyland, she'd often let us stop and pick out something we liked at the Disney store. And that's how I ended up with so many Disney VHS tapes. But over time, the Disney store began to disappear, leaving fans of the Disney brand wondering what happened to them. Well, in today's video, we'll take a look back at how the Disney store first came to be and what ultimately led to its demise. But before we begin, this is my channel, and if you like this video, your support would be appreciated. Let's get started. After the success of the original Disney stores, the company wanted to open more locations around the world. In 1988, a second Disney store opened in Bridgewater Commons in New Jersey on June. Then the first overseas Disney store debuted in November in London, England. Throughout the late 80s and early 90s, the company continued to expand with several more locations opening each year. In 1990, the first Disney store outside of North America opened in London, followed by locations in Australia. And in 1991, Doug Murphy was hired by the Disney store as manager of new business development. He was then promoted to head business development in April 1993. By the mid-1990s, the Disney store boasted 310 locations worldwide and was even featured in movies such as Air Bud. The company continued to expand and refine the concept throughout the rest of the decade. In 1996, the company opened its flagship store in New York City, which was later succeeded by a World of Disney store in 2004, which is still there to this day. The company also debuted another spin-off store called Walt Disney Gallery. The first location outside the parks opened next to the Disney store at Main Place Santa Ana in California on November 4, 1994, and was operated by the Disney store. But everything wasn't perfect behind the scenes. While sales were good, the cost of sales and operation was higher than anticipated, and a number of key executives that had helped to build the chain from the start had departed. In fact, Disney's top two executives, Michael Eisner and Frank Wells, were killed in a helicopter crash in 1994. Although the company seemed to continue as normal after the tragedy, many argue that the company never fully recovered from losing such influential leaders. In 2000, the company closed its store in Munich, and by September had remodeled 2 stores showing off prototype designs in Costa Mesa and Cherry Hill. N.J. These stores had more space and a high-tech look where theme park tickets could be bought via computer stations. When Disney indicated that this new model would be rolled out to 350 stores, they also indicated the closure of 100 locations worldwide. Analysts had indicated that Disney had overbuilt stores. By April 2001, 20 stores were redone in the high-tech style when a new president, Peter Whitford, was hired. By the end of 2002, 2 new prototypes were rolled out in Canoga Park and Torrance. In March 2002, Disney Stores Worldwide announced that the chain would be split into 2 types of stores, Disney Play and Disney Kids at Home. They also continued closing stores to reach 350 by 2005. The Disney Play stores would stock Disney character toys, plush dolls, and costumes aimed at young children, while Disney Kids at Home targeted parents looking to purchase home furnishings, clothing, and bed and bath products for their children. Some were expected to be a hybrid of both concepts. This rollout of the 2 store brands was expected to take 3 years. On March 31, 2003, its 16 Australian locations closed. With lackluster films, high-priced and high-margin items, sales dropped while continuing to overly open stores. The company closed hundreds of stores in order to slim profit. Whitford left in 2003. By 2004, the company was losing millions of dollars annually and decided to sell off the chain. The company sold its North American locations to The Children's Place in November 2004 for $48 million. The company retained ownership of its international locations as well as its flagship store in Manhattan, which was converted into a World of Disney store run by Walt Disney Parks and Resorts. On March 24, 2005, the first Disney Store outlet location opened. The Disney Store was sold to the Children's Place for $48 million. But the Children's Place had to write off the cost of the equipment and property received in the purchase. Instead of paying one flat fee, the Children's Place paid Disney a royalty based on sales, which averaged 5%, although it ranged from 9 to 10% for online sales. The terms of the deal gave the retailer a 3-year holiday on paying royalties. Disney hoped that the move would help its stores, which were suffering from declining sales due to increased competition from mass merchants such as Walmart and Target, as well as from online retailers such as Amazon. Despite the struggling retail market, the Children's Place was optimistic about purchasing the Disney stores. Disney had tried to franchise the retail chain in the past, but potential franchisees were deterred by the high costs involved. According to reports, a new Disney store requires an investment of up to $3.5 million. The Children's Place, which operates its own chains of specialty apparel stores, said it plans to update Disney Store's decor, improve customer service, and reduce initial selling prices. Although the company had initially expressed interest in acquiring all the Disney stores, including those in Canada and Puerto Rico, the Children's Place ultimately chose to exercise its option to acquire only the continental U.S. locations, while Disney kept the flagship Manhattan store and the stores in Canada and Puerto Rico. The Children's Place would eventually close 240 locations in favor of focusing on the most profitable stores. By 2008, the company had 322 stores, 200 of which were corporate-owned and 122 were franchised. That same year, Disney opened a section of the Disney Store inside select Sears locations, which would eventually number over 600. But Disney's plan to grow the chain didn't come without its own challenges. Unlike other chains such as Starbucks and McDonald's, the Disney Store concept was more difficult to replicate. That's because instead of selling coffee or burgers, the Disney Store sold mainly branded merchandise, meaning they relied on Disney's film and character popularity. As a result, they were more vulnerable to changes in taste, fads, and even seasonality. As the Great Recession took hold in 2008, the economy struggled. Movie attendance declined, families tightened their budgets, and the Disney Store struggled as a result. According to an executive at Oppenheimer & Co., Disney Stores was always a high fixed cost business. Typically, a Disney store had about $1 million in sales with a gross margin of around 35%. After subtracting occupancy costs and labor, the pre-tax profit would be approximately 8%. That means that for every $1 million in sales, the Disney Store generated only 8 cents profit. Executives at the Children's Place said that even a small reduction in traffic could lead to a substantial change in profitability. At the same time, competitors such as Walmart and Target ramped up their own Disney sections and absorbed much of the Disney Store's sales. Eventually, in 2009, the Children's Place asked Disney for permission to close underperforming stores and shrink the size of others. Disney agreed to allow the closings, but rejected the idea of smaller stores. This was because shrinking the Disney Store footprint went. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.